Good morning, guys. Here's the video that you need to watch today to relearn how to rewrite decimals as fractions. And these problems are going to be a little bit more difficult. So we have a whole video explaining how to write complicated decimals as fractions. Sometimes those are going to be mixed numbers. Once you finish this video, then you can go ahead and pop over to Khan Academy and do the practice. Have a great day. I miss you all.
Yesterday, we were practicing turning decimals into fractions, and we were starting with decimals that look kind of like the numbers that you see on the screen right now. On the top, we have 25 hundredths, and I notice that there are exactly two spaces after the decimal that are being filled up by numbers. I know that we learned a trick to write a 1 in front of those zeros, and the number of zeros in my denominator are going to be the number of cups that are filled in my decimal. So I have 2 cups that are filled in my decimal, so I'm going to have 2 zeros in my denominator. So I know that my denominator for the very first number is going to be something out of 100. If I'm looking at my decimal, it tells me what number is going to go in my numerator. So this tells me that I'm going to have 25 parts of 100. And then I'm done. I could simplify this fraction. If I wanted to simplify 25 100ths, I would need to see the greatest common factor that goes into both of those numbers. I know that 25 goes into 25 once, and 25 goes into 100 4 times. So I know that 25 hundredths is equal to 1/4, and that's as simple as that fraction can get. If I wanted to follow the same method for the decimal right underneath that, it has 1, 2, 3 spaces after the decimal that are filled up. So that means that I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 zeros on my denominator. I'm going to copy the numbers in my decimal into my numerator, and it's going to look exactly the same. I have a 0, I have a 2, and I have a 5. And then on my denominator, I have over 1,000. I know that it's out of 1,000s because this is my tenths place, my hundredths place, and my thousandths place. I can double check my work by thinking about the place values in my decimals. So I know that I have 25 1,000ths in this decimal. I could also simplify this if I wanted to, but I don't technically need to. That's what we were working on yesterday. Today we're going to be working with decimals that are a little bit more complicated. So I might see a decimal in my practice today that looks like that. Now that's slightly more complicated than what was on our last page, but I'm going to follow the same steps. I'm going to count the number of decimal places that are after the decimal. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm going to name them with my place values, then I know that the one immediately after the decimal point is our tenths. I know that after that it goes tenths, hundredths, thousandths. If I can make that look like an H. There we go. I'm trying my best. And then 10,000ths immediately after that. So that also means that I'm not going to have 3 zeros after the 1 on my denominator. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the number of cups that I have filled in my decimal. Notice that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4 cups. And if I were to go by place values, I counted all the way up to 10,000ths. And my denominator is out of 10,000. So when I rewrite this decimal as a fraction, again, I'm going to keep all of the numbers in the decimal in my numerator. I can't get rid of the 0 here. The 0 is very, very important. If I get rid of that, it totally changes the number that's on my numerator, and then I won't be right anymore. So if I copy my decimal exactly as it is into my numerator and put the number of zeros into my denominator, then I will get the right answer. If you want to simplify this, you can. You need to go by the greatest common factor to simplify. But if you leave it like this, you will also be correct. But what happens if I have a number that has a decimal but doesn't have a 0 in the ones place? That means that I have a whole number and then part of another one. So what if I had this number? How can I write this as a fraction? This number right here in the ones place means that there are 2 whole things. There are 2 whole ones, because this is my ones place. in combination with this extra part of a number. So I have part of a number right there, which means that I have 2 wholes. So I'm going to keep the 2, and then I'm going to follow the same steps that I was using in my previous problems. There are 2 places after the decimal point. So I am going to have a 1 and then 2 zeros. I'm going to copy the part of my decimal exactly into my numerator. So I have 2 and 1300ths here. I have the 2 wholes and 1300ths of one more. So if I have a number that has a number that is not 0 in the ones place, that becomes the big number as part of my mixed number.